Hi, my name is Zach Divelbus. I'm the owner of Future First Criminal Law. I want to help explain why I started Future First because I have a story unlike any other person who's ever become a lawyer after an incident like this. Started a law firm specifically to help people. When I was 19, I got a DUI. I was young, I was dumb, I was an undergrad at ASU, I'd been drinking and driving before, and finally I got caught. Well, with that, you end up in jail, you end up with license suspensions, counseling, fines, fees, all the crazy things in the world. I told myself I was never going to do anything wrong after that ever again, which is fine. I really had no plans or intentions to do anything wrong. I went to MVD, I said, hey, look, I need to be able to drive still. They said, that's fine. Continue driving until your license suspension starts. Here's a new driver's license. Go for it. Have a great rest of your life. I continue on. Months down the road, my license suspension gets kicked in. Not a big deal. I know I'm not able to drive for those 3 months, so let's start it. My friend gets pulled over after that while I'm in the back seat. Officer comes up to the driver, says, hey, you know your tags are expired? He says, yeah, they are. Sorry about that. He says, I need to see everyone's IDs. SB 1070 days, we all give him our IDs. That's fine. We're doing nothing wrong. Officer comes back and says, hey, buddy, guess what? You're free to go. Be on your way. Mr. Divelbus, will you step out of the vehicle? And I'm looking around going, what did I do? Step out of the vehicle. He says, Mr. Divelbus, you know you just handed a police officer false identification. I said, what are you talking about? That's my identification. It's mine. It's 100% legitimate. Believe it or not, I just got it a few weeks ago from MVD. The officer says, I'm sorry about that. I don't want to hear any more. I'm not the judge. You can go and tell this to the judge. I say, well, officer, fine. I guess I'll go and tell it to the judge. He writes me a criminal citation for providing false identification to a police officer. I show up in court, weeks later, and I think, all right, this is just a big misunderstanding. I'm going to be able to easily explain to the prosecutor, hey, this is my ID. I got this from MVD. They gave it to me. There's nothing fake, forged about this. Nothing manipulated. I get to the prosecutor. She says, hey, Zach, sorry, I don't want to hear your side of the story because I'm the prosecutor. If you want to tell your side of the story, you need to have a hearing, have a trial in front of the judge. And you can tell the judge anything that you want. Just say whatever your story is. So I say, all right, well, I guess that's the only option. Again, this is a big misunderstanding. I can represent myself with this. This should be easy. I schedule the trial. I go and I show up. I prepare my arguments the day before. I'm explaining that I got this MVD driver's license. My license suspension kicked in. I was sitting in the back seat of the car, not driving, and this officer just made a mistake. He's human. It happens. I go and start explaining the story. The prosecutor objects to me. Hearsay, judge. The judge says sustained. So I keep losing over and over in trial. And I don't know why. I hadn't gone to law school at that point. I was just a 19-year-old kid. The judge eventually comes to the conclusion of the trial, bangs his gavel and says, Mr. Divelbus, I find you guilty. I'm flabbergasted. At this point, how did this all just happen? This officer cites me. The prosecutor wants to hear nothing. The judge is saying I'm guilty of a criminal violation for something I didn't do. I protest to the judge. I say, Judge, what are you talking about? What did I do that was wrong here? And the judge says, well, Mr. Divelbus, apparently nobody explained this to you through any part of this process that you've gone through, but your identification here says driver's license on it. So the moment your license suspension kicks in, technically this driver's license is now void. It's invalid. And I said, okay, no one ever mentioned that. It has all my identifying information there, my address, everything about me. What about this is fake? And he said, well, there's nothing that's fake about it other than it's false identification. You're no longer allowed to use that anymore. You need to go get an identification card, a passport, all this. So again, I protest. I'm like, well, please, nobody explained this to me. Just go easy on me. Give me a break. Judge says, sorry, son, I've got to follow the law. This is your punishment. You now get a criminal conviction. Your license is going to get suspended another 3 months. And I just really lost it. At that point, I said, that's it. I'm going to law school. I'm going to learn every criminal law there is. I'm going to learn all these loopholes. I'm going to help people so that way they don't go into these situations thinking, that they can handle this themselves. That way they go into this to actually get the best result possible, not just hoping, we'll just clear this up real quick. This whole process taught me at a young age that, the officer could have been the bigger person. The officer could have said, hey, sorry, Zach, I see that, you probably are making a mistake here. You probably had no idea you were doing anything wrong, but they didn't care. They just saw that I had a DUI before they said he must be a criminal. And they just slapped me with the next best thing that they could get me. Then I get to the prosecutor, who is actually allowed to hear your side of the story, but they were so busy they didn't want to deal with me. They thought that I was going to give them some kind of random story about how this wasn't me and the whole thing is wrong. And then the judge actually does have the power to find you not guilty, but it's so hard when you can't fully explain what's going on because you're not a lawyer, because you didn't go to law school. You didn't know the right words to say for them to actually find you not guilty of a crime that you didn't even know was illegal. All of those things really led me to starting Future First Criminal Law here. And I hope by watching this video, you understand that even if you had been making mistakes in the past, even if you've never been caught and you finally did, you absolutely have to hire a lawyer. You don't know what you are going to get screwed over with when you get through your case. It's similar to a baseball game, a football game, whatever analogy you want to use, is you need a lawyer from the very beginning. You can't get to the fourth quarter of the football game, losing by a dozen points or so, and then be like, oh, now I'm going to hire a lawyer to fix this. We're going to come in and do damage control. From the very beginning, I should have hired a lawyer. I should have known better from my mistakes. But again, I was ignorant. I was young. I didn't think that this was going to be a big issue, and it really was. I wish I had protected my future better, so I want to help everyone do that for you later. Part of the finishing point of this story is I then went to law school. I graduated seventh in my law school class, top 10% of my class, passed the bar first try, and I still had to struggle to get my license because my background check said I had a false identification charge. I explained this to the board 6 years later. And sure, the board did see some empathy and did let me get licensed without any restrictions. But understand, even if you think, this is just a right now problem with whatever crime you're facing, know that years down the road, this will affect you in ways that you can't foresee. You have to get the help now to protect your future for later. Please trust us when I'm sitting here to tell you we want to help you and I want to get you the best results possible.